Commander Garfield cleared his throat, wide eyes fluttering away. His grip on the doorknob tightened with a groan of its springs. "I apologize," he started. Rory trembled fiercely, and while I didn't understand his fear, I couldn't bear watching it. I stood up, the chair crashing beneath me, and blocked his body from sight. Rory's hands found their way to the bottom of my shirt, tugging on it occasionally as his trembling worsened. I had never been so rude to the boss before, but neither would I concede. Whatever punishment he doled out would be mine to bear, happily, just so long as Rory was safe. Boss watched this, his eyebrows rising just a hair. I'd never seen such an awkward look pull across his features. He cleared his throat again. "I need to talk to you two. It's urgent. Please, come to my house. 5 minutes? It's important." Then he spun on his heel and shut the door, much gentler than when he'd thrown it open moments before. Alone at last, I immediately turned, pulling Rory into my arms, but he danced away, eyes bright with panic. I froze in place. I'd also never seen Rory like this, not even when he'd had a dislocated shoulder and had run across the backs of a herd of bison, jumping off a small cliff into a pool as we fought off a squadron of demons. "What's wrong?" I asked. But Rory just shook his head, one arm holding his other one in a bruising grip. If he had to bruise something, couldn't it be my hand? I didn't want him to hurt himself. "Let's just go," he said, eyes not meeting mine. "Just whatever he says. Don't get mad." Why would I get mad? What could the boss possibly say that would make me upset? "Okay," I said dumbly, following behind Rory as we made our short walk up the pebbled drive. I lingered 2 steps behind because he radiated an energy that begged for space. Though it scraped at my insides, I didn't want to make him uncomfortable. It took everything in me to stay away. Still, there were no lions out and about. When we'd lived here before the war, the mud pen was constantly loud. Different squads rotated duties and training. I knew it was only the first day back, but where was everyone? The commander's family was nowhere to be seen, and neither was the mouse, as we stepped inside a well-lit, finely decorated cottage. It was still small, more like one of the lighthouses we'd seen on the edges of the sea, but it was dolled up with all sorts of finery, probably all credited to the commander's wife. Boss sat on a wooden stool, ignoring the circlet of cushioned rocking chairs. I'd never seen his gaze fall to the ground before, but a divot formed between his brows, hands steepled, as he glared down at it. At our entrance, he flinched, eyes glancing up quickly. I froze at the doorway, feeling like a lone predator encroaching on a pride's territory. "Come in," he said, clearing his throat before repeating, "Come in, you two. Please take a seat." Rory trembled like a leaf, but at least his gaze was straight as he fell to his knees, hands angled in obeisance. I mirrored him, ignoring the rocking chairs. They sat higher than the commander. Who would sit in them when he was so low to the ground? Who would dare look down on the boss? "I have some urgent news to share," he began. With a series of pops and snaps, his spine straightened, and the boss I knew had returned, steady gaze, pinning everything beneath it in place. "But first, I feel that I should address—" Rory tensed beside me, the muscles of his thighs bunched into immovable iron walls. My hands itched against my knees, and it was all I could do to hold on to them and not reach out to smooth those muscles or hide them behind me at the very least. A tingle of unease spread through my chest. What was he so scared of? Commander Garfield blew out a long sigh. "At ease, Rory. Please. Come now. I'm not mad." Without being granted permission to speak, I cocked my head, accidentally spouting, "Why would you be mad? What's wrong, boss?" A subtle smile played at the commander's lips, mostly hidden within his neatly trimmed beard. That's exactly right. I have no reason to be mad. Raise your head, Rory. Come on. Slowly, Rory's neck craned upwards like a broken hinge being shoved with brute force. Meeting the boss's gaze, his face went slack, muscles loosening. That icky, overly alert thing inside of me relaxed, too. Boss wouldn't care. I'd known that the whole time. Now, maybe Rory would know that too. I've always seen you boys as family, the commander said. He played with the jewel hanging from the upper cartilage of his ear, its fierce lionite chiseled into the shape of a fang. A matching one had been given to me, along with his old sword pommel when I'd turned 19 last year. I don't know why you felt the need to hide yourselves from me, but it must have been my actions or my words that gave you doubt. Let me assuage those fears now. I don't think any less of you, just because this is rather unorthodox. I'm afraid I don't have much experience with this, so I might say something. He paused, and for the first time since we'd come into his home, he looked assured. Hands clasped in front of him, he nodded at each of us in turn. You can't help who you love. No, you can't, sir, I agreed. At my voice, Rory's shoulders jumped a little. I could feel his gaze peering at me from the corner of his eye, so I winked. Huffily, he turned away, but the mood felt lighter now. Commander Garfuel watched this exchange with an inscrutable look on his face. The light mood felt fuzzy, like a blanket that could be snatched away at any moment. My brow furrowed, and for a crazy second, I wondered if he really didn't like our relationship. But it had nothing to do with him, so why would he? An emergency commander's meeting was held today, he said. His tone so solemn, it nearly brought me back to the scrub, to nightly roll call, trapped in the pitch dark, grasping tightly to Rory's hand as Commander Garfuel read name after name. No crystals lit, for fear of attacks by demons and other wild things, straining to hear an answering voice, and the moments when nobody did. Our sovereign has made a decree. Are we being sent back? Rory asked quietly. To war? But the commander shook his head. What is left, after that insidious blue cretin's demise, is nothing more than shambles of a shattered hive without a leader. The remaining demons are so scattered, it would be foolhardy to go chasing them into the scrub. Such a mission would certainly invite scores of needless deaths. How could we possibly prepare to send troops in small scouting parties with enough food to last through every condition the scrub throws at them? After 6 years of constant warfare, Polny is poor. The farmers are stretched thin, imports have slowed to a near crawl, and the treasury is overburdened. There simply isn't enough money, or food, or supplies to send the military back out there, not without stealing from the king's own plate. What was so bad about stealing from the king's plate? Did he really need all that steak and also the shrimp? It's not like I wanted to go back out there. But then, what was with this new decree? If there wasn't another war, then what was left? His Royal Majesty, King Rishad, has received a vision, Commander Garfuel said, squeezing his eyes shut. 1 beat, 2. When he opened them, steely eyes fixed on me first. In them, all I saw was fire. He has named the successor to his throne after receiving this prophecy. I didn't know how kings received prophecies, or why they would need to. If they wanted to know something, couldn't they just ask? People had to answer you if you were the sovereign. Boss acknowledged my cluelessness. We are the Crystal Kingdom. Each crystal is made from our sovereign's own power, and each one is imbued with a different strength. Some are best for light, while others are best for healing, cooling, heating. Think of all the different ways we use crystals, El. The sovereign creates them all. They grow from his palace's walls, which are then mined and used or sold to other countries. But where does the source of the sovereign's power come from? The holy deity, Rory whispered. I cocked my head. Holy deity, huh? I'd thought that was some rich person thing. What this deity says goes? I asked for clarification. Upon the boss's nod, I continued. So what happens if this holy guy threatens to take the power of the crystals away? That won't happen, Boss said quickly. We are their people. They would never turn on us. Okay, so if nobody was threatening to take anything away, then why act so serious? Who was named heir, sir? Rory asked. There was silence as the commander opened his mouth to speak, shutting it just as quickly. I watched the joints in his jaw hinge open, closed, grinding his molars to nubs. My daughter,